Okay, we are going to do one example from this setting right here, and we're going to do one example from below. The backside is reviewed from yesterday. So you got 6 problems on the front, 6 problems on the back. And today, what it says, we're solving these equations by using a graphing calculator. We're going to sketch a rough graph as well. I'm going to choose number 4 to solve here with you, okay? And it says 2 over x minus 1 is equal to x minus 2. And so what we can do is, that may look like a challenging equation to solve. We could solve it via our graphing calculator. So what I want you to do is I want you to take that calculator out, and I want you to go into y equals. And we're going to type in those 2 functions that you see there. The first one is 2 divided by, and in order to make sure you divide by the x and the minus 2, we have to put a parentheses. X minus, oh, is it minus 1? Sorry about that. Okay, that shows I'm dividing by both the x and the 1. The parentheses has captured that. That's probably, so today's assignment is to make sure you can solve these equations and inequalities by using your graphic calculator. The other part is make sure you're typing stuff incorrectly. So a lot of times people are making mistakes with how they type it in. So I've got that one, and then what is the equation that's off to the right-hand side?
X minus 2.
So I've got x minus 2. Okay, I want to see where those two are equal to each other. So I'm going to press zoom 6. And so there's a few things I want to talk about. First of all, the solution to this is where they intersect. But that's not what I use to solve this. I'm going to show you guys another way. Does anybody have another line that goes right up and down through the middle?
Yeah.
Yeah, so the TID3s and some of the 84s, they draw the line up and down through the middle. That is not part of the graph. And here's how you can kind of tell. What's the number that you can't plug in for x in this situation? 1. And if you notice on your calculators, if you have a line going up and down, it happens right at 1. Your calculator is not smart enough to not draw that line. And you just have to ignore it. Okay, so just ignore it. So the intersection would be a point that we would want to find. But here's how I generally teach people to handle this. And this is what we do generally in calculus as well in other classes. We're going to get everything on one side. So I'm going to go 2 over x minus 1. I'm going to subtract the x and add the 2. And I'm going to set it equal to 0. I would encourage you to use this method as the best way to navigate these type of problems. So now instead of entering something in y sub 1 and y sub 2, I'm only going to enter that in y sub 1. So as I go back to my calculator, I'm going to put a minus x and a plus 2. Now when I press graph, look at what I get. If it's set equal to 0, what spot on the graph do you think I want to find? Where it crosses the x-axis. That's called the 0. So we can find that by going second, calculate, and then what do we do?
0.
0, number 2. Yep. My calculator is there right now. It does happen to be at 0, but we're going to find it legitimately. We're going to back off to the left and press enter. We're going to head on over to the right and press enter. I'll press enter on guess. And it gives me this crazy number, negative 2.04 e to the negative 14. Some of you guys might end up with a different number. That's okay. I'm going to just explain to you what it means. Your calculator is not as smart as you are. We need to understand your calculator and its faults as well. If your calculator gives you a number like that, that's scientific notation. It means you move this decimal point 14 places that way. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. There we go. What number is that really close to?
0.
0. Yeah, your calculator did a really good job of estimating. It was right to like the 10 millionth billionth place, but it's just the number 0. So in our result here, we're going to go ahead and say x equals 0 is one of the answers. We want to find the other answer. And in order to do that, we again go second, calculate, and we want to find, yeah.
For my x, I got -4.
Yeah, so you got basically the same thing. It's just that it just looks a little bit different. So you still got, it's e to the -14. So you got a tiny, 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 tiny number, which is 0. Okay? All right. So we're going to go back to the calculator. I'm going to find the other 0. I select number 2. Look at where that is. I want to move over to that side. So you're just going to move to the right until you get over to that side. You're going to lose your cursor here for a little bit. It's going to disappear on you. It's gone. But if I continue, just move to the right. Oh, you pick it back up. There it is. Press enter when it's above. Press enter when it's below. And enter on guess. And you can see x equals 3. So that is your other solution. X equals 0 and x equals 3. So for the first part, you're just finding the 0 by subtracting it to one side. I am asking you to sketch just a quick graph. And when I say quick graph, I mean quick graph, okay? I don't mean anything special. Just quick put it down so I can see what it looked like, so I can understand what mistake you maybe made. If your graph doesn't look like that, then you probably made a mistake. All right, our last example for today, it changes now. It says solve the following inequalities. Notice we have an inequality there. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to move the x and the 2 to the other side to get the square root of 5x squared minus x minus 2 is greater than or equal to 0. That's the inequality I'm going to try to solve. We saw a little bit of that yesterday. We're following up with it today. I go to my calculator, I clear that out, and I grab the square root of 5. It's very important that you end the square root of 5 there. If I then type x squared, now I'm taking not just the square root of 5, but also the square root of x squared. I don't want that. So after the square root of 5, I close my parentheses to say I'm done taking the square root. Then I do x squared, and then what is it? Minus x minus 2? Yeah. Minus x minus 2. Okay?
Wait.
Got it? I'm going to graph that, and since this is an x squared, you can see it looks like a parabola. Now for here, I'm going to be a little bit more particular about this. I'm going to just sketch a little graph, but I'm going to talk about what it means here. Are we wondering where this graph is above the x-axis or below the x-axis? Above the x-axis, because it says where is it greater than? Notice how here it's above and how here it's above. Down here it's below. So in order to answer this question, all I need to do is to come up with that value, and I'll be able to answer the interval with which it's above the x-axis. What operation will I use on my calculator?
0 again.
Yep, the 0 option is one of the most helpful options on your graphing calculator. I go to the 0, and once I get there, I move to the left, and I move to the right. Negative 0.748. Then I go ahead and check the other one. Again, I'm going to do a second calculate. And I get the 0. And I move over here. Move to your left. Move to your right. And we get 1.195. So, see if you can write down the correct interval notation that satisfies that answer. Okay? Check with the person next to you, see what they wrote, see if it's accurate, and we'll put it on the board. So you're in math print right now, so you go into your mode. Okay, and if we go down here, you can see that you're choosing to use a math print. So you don't have to do that. Your calculator using the smartphone, where you can just press square root of 5. And then you can press over, and that will end it. And you can go back square root. See that? Yep, use a union.
My calculator's stuck with this yesterday.
Guess there's a second quit. Here we go.
Second calculate. 0.
All right, so your answer should be from negative infinity to negative 0.748, bracket, union with, bracket, 1.195 to infinity. And that's where it's above the x-axis. Okay, so some complicated equations that we don't solve by hand, but using our calculator, it's not that bad. It's going to force you to investigate where's the pi sign, where are the decimals, all those different things. So it's a good exercise. You got the rest of the time to work. I'll come around and help you. Should be able to get most of it done. Test on Tuesday.